Good morning, everybody. How are you going this morning? It's Rebecca Thompson here from Beer Beacon Programs for Women and from the Radiant Femmes movement. Just checking in with you this morning around how to stay on top without stressing out. And we all have ways in which we respond when it comes to stress. And sometimes we respond differently depending on the stressor. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about what those stresses are. So welcome if you're jumping on, what those stress responses are, and sort of classify it down and help you get a sense of how to manage that stress and how to know yourself and how you can then obviously change your responses. So let me know as you go along whether you relate to any of this. And like I say, you can manage stress pretty well, but you can still fall into some of these categories. And it's great to know so that you can choose a response rather than getting stuck in your grooves, because a stress response isn't who you are. It is a learned response. It is often something that we've learned because of our past experiences in our family and the role that we were needed to play. Or it can just be an exaggerated response based on your personality and your tendencies, but it's something that's hyped up as we perceive exaggerated risks or fears, in our environment or in our world or in our mind. So I made a couple of little notes here. Hey Lulu, hey Anita. The first sort of type, if we simplify this right down into two types of stress response, the first one goes into doing. And this is the one who wants to control things, who wants to fix things, who feels like the weight of the world is on their shoulders, and if they don't do something, it's not going to get done. So this is the over-functioner. So feel if this is you. What else did I put down about this? The doing avoids the looking inside because there's a fear around this of vulnerability, that if I stop and if I go into feeling here, things won't get done, but I might fall apart. I might collapse. No one else can help me. I need to do this. And there's a sense of, worth definitely tied up in this doing. And it may be that you've had to do this, you've had to cope. You've had to be the one that stepped up perhaps in your family, or it may just be an exaggeration of your personality type. So that's the first one. It's the doer rather than the beer. And the second type of stress response, and again, we're generalizing here, is the one who goes more into feeling, who pulls back, whose story comes into, I can't do this. I'm going to fall apart. I'm going to go into overwhelm. I'm not capable. So they hand over responsibility and always looking for someone else to fix it. I'm just going to sit back and let someone else fix it because I can't do this. This is too hard. And sometimes this personality type can go into reckless behavior. Stuff it, they might be seen as reckless or might be seen as overly fragile or overly sensitive. So notice if this is you or you've been told this. And again, it can be something that has been entrained to some extent by other people telling you you're a bit sensitive, you're a bit fragile, don't be so emotional. And we can take it on more and more. And in other ways, it can just be an exaggeration of our personality type. So we've got the sort of more feelers that can go into a sense of overwhelm or have been entrained to feel like they can't cope and it's all going to be overwhelming. And you've got the doers who tend to overfunction, take the whole weight of the world on their shoulders and feel like they have to fix things because if they stop and let go, they're going to fall apart. All right, so notice if you fall into either of those camps, and maybe you fall into some of those camps at different times, that there's different situations in which you would go into the controller and which you would go into the I can't do this. I think for me, I probably go into the I will fix this, I will sort this out, but there's definitely times where I would just sit back. And my spiritual path, my personal development path, I've definitely been able to let go of a lot of that controlling and to sit back at the right time and to know that, freaking out's not going to help me. But I know for me that controlling aspect was definitely more around my self-worth rather than a fear of feeling and going into overwhelm. It was very much tied up with, I have to prove myself by fixing this. So notice, what the driving force is behind your sort of stress response. So let's look at the mature way that we need to train ourselves as adults to respond to a situation rather than falling into our habituated kind of stress reactions, if you like. So the person who tends to go into this control and I have to fix it, the key for you here is to go, is this really helping? How I'm showing up right now is freaking out and going into that control mode. Is that helping, and who is that helping? Because the key for you, if that's your personality type, is to learn to be in a place of more vulnerability, and that it's okay to ask for help. That it's okay to ask for help. And this might be a tricky one because you may have been programmed and entrained through your life to have this sense that if I ask for help, I'm not going to get it, or if I ask for help, it's not going to be good enough and I need to have done it anyway. Who feels that? Let me know if anyone ever feels that it's only you that can fix it. So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. Is that true, that I'm the only one that can fix this? Is freaking out going to help? And who is it helping? Because this personality type can be the one that really burns out by trying to take on too much. So it's this learning to feel what you're really feeling underneath the action. What are you really feeling, and being with that and letting that inform your action rather than just being in the freak out stress response of I have to fix this, I have to do. Learning to share, being able to ask for help, and having in your day, every day, a way that you check in, that you self-care, that you come to presence. Because at the root of all of this is your capacity for everyone to stay present, to stay in your center, no matter what is going on around you. And for those that are in the controlling, I've got to fix it, doers, that needs to be a lot of space to tune in and to feel and to be in your center. And to know that it is safe for you to feel, it's okay for you to stop and to be still. And in that place, that will inform you of a better response, a more mature response that is not just in your habituated groove, your habituated pattern. And to be able to really train yourself to stop, to breathe, to, do that whole 10-second breath, step back, drop into your center, and feel a maybe more mature response to a situation. So that's the sort of controller or fixer. Now, if you're the one that goes in more into overwhelm and kind of drops everything and just puts everything off to somebody else, or feels that you're too sensitive, you can't cope, it's not for you, you'll leave it to somebody else. Again, ask yourself this question: how have I been entrained to that? Is this really me? Or is it just that other people have always taken responsibility for me? Other people have always taken on the job of the doing and the control. So notice that. Is it that you are weak and incapable and will go into overwhelm? Or is it that you have assumed that role because others around you have always taken control? And that's the first question to really ask. And the second thing with this tendency to go into overwhelm is to not look at the big picture, to not look too far ahead. And this kind of goes for everyone, but it's specifically for those that go into overwhelm and I'm too sensitive and I can't handle this. If you look too far ahead, there are just too many steps and it's overwhelming for everybody. For you, you need to stop and look right now. In this moment now, are you okay? And to reaffirm that, yes, wow, in this moment right now, I'm okay. And then the next moment, and look at what is the first step in order to maybe improve the situation or to respond to the situation. And to keep reaffirming this sense of I'm okay, I can do this right now, and looking at just that first next step. And your daily self-care practice still needs to be there like everybody else, and yours is again about coming into your center and feeling, though, in that center a real sense of safety and strength, that coming from your stillness in your center, You breathe in, I've got this. I can do this. It's calm, centered, and strength. And that's the reaffirming that you need. So it's two slightly different types. Is there anything else I can do? Yeah, and the other thing is to feel into when have you dealt with stress before and dealt with something before and come out the other side completely winning, right? Reaffirming to yourself that you can totally do this, that you have got this, and that you have achieved in the past. So reaffirming those grooves. Yeah, it's kind of about reparenting yourself. And imagine if you were a little girl or a little boy, what would you say to that younger version of yourself if she was saying, I can't do this, I'm overwhelmed, I'm spinning out, I can't do this? What would you say to her? Chances are you would say to her, just stop, breathe, it's okay, you're okay right now. Let's look at the first thing that you could do to manage this. You've got this, right? You did this before and you were successful before, you can do this again. This is not who you are, you're just freaking out, it's okay. Breathe. You're safe, I've got you. Right? That's the kind of thing you'd say to a little girl if she was in that overwhelm. And if you had a little girl who was in the, or a little boy who was in the other camp, who was in the controlling camp, who was in the, oh my God, I've got to fix this, everything's my, everything's, you know, my job, I have to hold this for everybody. What would you say to them? Chances are you'd say to them, it's okay. You've got this, I can help you. What do you need? Just stop and take a breath. Just let it go. I've got this. You've got this. We can do this together. Tell me how you're feeling. So it's so useful when we're dealing with ourselves to deal with ourselves as though we are a younger version of ourselves, a more vulnerable, younger version of ourselves. And what would you say to that person? And so if you are dealing with this right now, that you feel that you are going into this, I need to control things, I need to fix things, I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, or you're going into a sense of overwhelm, I can't do this, I let everyone else do it, and those different stress responses, I hope this has really helped you. If you're just jumping on now, we're going to be finishing up in a moment, so it'll be really useful to go back and feel into which of these two stress responses that I've shared tends to be where you go. And you may not go to the extreme of it, you may just go into a little bit of it, but to notice what the self-inquiry needs to be depending on where you go, and some of the tools that I've shared with you around how to deal with that and step into a more mature stress response. Because stress is going to happen, you know? And the other great thing to learn how to do is to be able to share with your intimate peeps, you know, your family, your best friends, how you are actually feeling. And so to be able to stop and sit back when we feel ourselves responding to stress is so important, so that we can really tune into how we feel and we can share that with others. Because just in that acknowledgement and the awareness and the sharing, it starts to break up that pattern and gives the space that we need to move from reaction to response. So I hope that that has been really helpful. Let me know in any of your comments below, like which camp you think you fall into, and like I say, at different times, and you know, any other mechanisms that you have for dealing with stress. Obviously there are loads and loads of tools, but what I wanted to share today was the two different types of stress response and how you might need to look at that a little differently and inquire a little differently depending on which camp you're falling into. All right, my beauties, have an amazing day. What day is it? It's Wednesday. Have a great day. Take care.